Hello and welcome to Stowhill Estates Meets, the series where we get to chat with some of our favourite local businesses. And today on the sofa, which makes me feel like Graham Norton, I am joined by Abi from Photography by Abi Moore. So Abi, welcome.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really pleased to be here.
My absolute pleasure. I will try and do it justice with a reasonably interesting conversation for you.
Fantastic.
So generally a good place for us to start is the kind of the context question. So maybe for the benefit of everybody, how have we come across each other's paths in the past?
So we met at networking meetings. So through my business, I do quite a lot of networking to promote my business and meet new people, and met you guys at, I think I met Jules first at a female-only networking meeting.
I wasn't at that one.
No, you weren't at that one.
No.
And then at networking meetings for the Royal Borough, and we've come across each other a few times. I also happen to know one of your neighbours whose home I have used as a location for photo shoots. So some people don't want their photos taken in their own spaces, and so I look for locations to rent, and one of your lovely neighbours has an amazing house to photograph in.
And that's maybe a great place for us to start, because you must have over the years, and in fact context-wise, Abi, just let everybody know how long you've been running your business.
So I have been a photographer for 14 years. So a while now.
So that's pretty good tenure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine in 14 years of being a photographer, you've probably had the privilege and challenge, perhaps, of shooting in some interesting locations.
Yeah. So I've photographed all over the place. So I do indoors, outdoors, and I've travelled for photography as well. So it's sometimes in people's homes. It can take you anywhere.
Where, what's your ideal location? Do you prefer to be outside?
I much prefer a natural location.
Yeah.
So I do have a studio kit that I can take to my clients and set up in their homes, or if it's a business, in their offices. But I think studio photos have a certain falseness to them, and my style is very natural and relaxed and authentic, and the studio almost kind of puts a barrier towards that. So just photographing outdoors is great, or just in people's homes like this, and photographing them in their working space or their homes together.
See, I think it's really interesting, because one of the things that I know, certainly Jules and I in the past have done some brand photography, guys, spoiler alert, and different people probably have different levels or different degrees of comfort.
Yes,
or,
absolutely.
Or confidence.
Yes.
That must be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, so one of the things that I sort of pride myself on is being able to bring the best out of people in front of the camera and helping people relax. I would say 95% of the people that I photographed tell me they hate being photographed. For businesses, quite often they come to me and say, I know I need to have my photo taken, but I really don't want to do it. Quite often with families, it's very often the dad, quite often mum. Sometimes kids are a bit shy. But usually, there's one parent that doesn't really want to be there. But I'm very much focused on making it an enjoyable experience for everyone and helping them relax in front of the camera. Hence the relaxed and natural style, because it's not about sitting there and posing and kind of being a model. I do lots of interaction to make it come really naturally, and just that really helps people relax.
So what top tips can you offer people to kind of give them a bit more comfort?
So photography is all about light, and the first thing I look for on a shoot is where the light's coming from. So obviously we want a nice background, but we really want to look at where the light is coming. So we were looking indoors to have a window nearby so that you've got natural light on your face, or if you're outdoors, to be in the shade. You want to generally avoid direct sunlight on your face. It makes you squint, it gives you harsh shadows. Lighting is going to go a long way to giving you a flattering look in your photos and a really nice photo. The other thing I would say is smile. A lot of people forget that. Think about what you're doing with your hands. So a dead giveaway in photos is you see people shoulders up, hands in fists.
Tension.
You can see that they're tense. So thinking about hands, kind of relaxing them or holding something. Families, quite often I'm getting them to hold hands, touch each other. If it's a business, I might have them, holding a mug or typing. once you've kind of got the hands relaxed, everything else starts to feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
Smile. And one thing I always say is kind of fake it till you make it. So channel someone that you think photographs well. Sometimes I'm saying think of a sort of famous celebrity that you think is brilliant and just pretend you're them. And sometimes, it might be kind of for businesses, it might be someone that you know in business that you think does it really well, and just kind of, channel that energy will help.
That's an interesting idea. So that's like a sort of slightly more family-friendly version of Imagine the Audience Naked type thing.
Yes,
You know, the whole
exactly
cliche,
that.
if you're nervous public speaking, this is what you should do.
Yeah. And definitely as well, the other thing I say is, like, for me, obviously, when I'm on the other end of the camera, I am not just standing there silent taking photos. I'm interacting. So with a family, I'm playing children's entertainer, basically making the kids laugh. With a business owner, I'll be chatting to them and interacting with them. And that helps people relax. If you're taking your own photos with a selfie, I would always say kind of picture, forget the camera, think if you're smiling at it, think of the person you love and you're smiling at them instead.
That's nice.
If you're a business, who's your ideal client, smiling at them, and that's going to give a much more natural expression. So
generate a meaningful relationship,
absolutely,
basically, with the camera.
Exactly, because those are the people that are going to be looking at photos in the end. So that's essentially who you are smiling at, because they're the ones going to be viewing
that's
the photo.
what comes across, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. And when you I suppose when you express it that way, it takes away some of the reluctance about the technology side and the awkwardness. It's just how would you like people to look at you?
Exactly that, yeah.
So 14 years in, so you must enjoy what you're doing.
I absolutely love it.
What's your favourite part of the job?
I like the diversity that I get from it. So I don't think I would be made to sit at a desk 9 to 5 every day. I think I would just get bored doing that. But equally, I think if I was out on the go all the time, that would be exhausting. So it's a nice balance. I have days where I'm kind of at my desk and can just be in my leggings and have a chill day.
Admin days.
Yeah, exactly. And then days when I'm out with people. I love working with people, whether it's families and capturing those moments in their lives, whether it's business owners and helping them promote themselves, or, for example, like a wedding on a wedding day.
Yeah.
It's really lovely to work with people, and I really get my energy off of that, of working with people. And the diversity of working with different things. So no 2 days are the same. Like, literally could be out photographing a wedding one day, photographing a business the next, or a newborn baby, and then at my desk editing. So it's very, very diverse.
And I would venture that perhaps some of that diversity comes from the fact that you kind of work in different areas, to the extent that you actually have different brands, right, depending on what you're shooting.
Yeah, so my whole business is kind of Photography by Abi Moore, and I operate under that as a kind of umbrella brand. But I have 2 Instagram accounts now, because I was on about 2 years ago using one account to kind of talk to everyone that I might be taking the photo of. So one day I'd be posting a photo of a newborn baby, and then the next day I'd be photographing an office of people and posting that. And it felt just like it didn't fit together well. Who was I talking to? And it didn't really make sense. So I split the 2 out. So I now have kind of what I call the consumer arm of my business. So anyone that's booking me for personal stuff, family photos, wedding photos. And then the business side, where I'm kind of talking to businesses. And that could be anything from kind of self-employed business owners through to kind of bigger companies of sort of 5, 10 plus people.
So that, I guess, promotes a sort of distinct tone of voice almost, in terms of how you're engaging with both people who are existing clients who might be following you or looking at stuff, but also people that are potential new clients.
Yeah.
Do you think that that separation has been, should we call it, profitable? And has it helped attract more business because there's been much more sort of linear direction?
Absolutely. It's definitely, I think, helps that I've got a very clear idea of who I'm talking to and how I'm talking to them. I would say the tone of voice is probably similar. I'm still me, and I very much, when I talk to business owners, I do a lot on visibility and showing up in your own business, obviously with photos and things. And I always say that you should be yourself and don't try and be someone you're not, because if you come across as very professional and formal in photos and videos, and then when you meet them you're quite zany and quirky, then it just doesn't make sense. So it's very important to be yourself. So the tone of voice isn't that different between sort of the two accounts, but definitely in terms of the meaningfulness for the people that are looking at it. And I have been showing up a lot on my business account and talking to people about visibility. I'm very much about, on the business side, encouraging business owners to show their face. Too many businesses hide away behind a logo and are scared to show up and find it awkward. And yeah, I think it's really important to be your business and to show yourself. That's going to really help people get to know you and trust you, and more likely to book with you.
Connect with the people behind it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which is funny because that's literally one of the phrases I think I've used on previous interviews, episodes of this particular show, which is, understanding who are the people behind the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because very often people don't always give themselves a forum to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are scared to show their faces. There's a certain fear about how much of yourself you're giving away. Is it professional enough to be showing up? And I know you were saying that you don't always have businesses that want to take part in this, which I think is such a shame. I just assumed everyone would say yes. Because I think it's a great opportunity. If you're showing up, you're marketing yourself, and it's lots of ways to get you out to a new audience. But I know there's a fear, and lots of people aren't confident in front of the camera and on video. So,
and I totally get it, right? It's and you can only do things that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know whether you would agree with this statement, but sometimes the best way to kind of do something new or to get more comfortable with something is pushing yourself a little bit outside of that level of comfort. But it's the baby steps thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's my absolute kind of thing is practice makes perfect, and that you have to start somewhere. I actually do, as part of my business, a little bit of visibility coaching. I have a visibility guide that I offer to people that kind of coming on board to work with me, and it's all about giving them that confidence to show up. And that's one of my things that I say is, practice makes perfect, and you just need to start and you just need to do it. And don't worry if you don't have to have a professional photo, just stick a nice selfie of yourself up there and introduce yourself, tell your story. People want to know you, so it doesn't need to be all polished and perfect. It's just about getting to know you and showing who you are.
Yeah, well, and I suppose, while we're talking about that side of things, one of the additional, I suppose, value adds or areas of business that you support people with is that kind of coaching and how-to side of things. Yeah. So, like, I know that you run masterclasses.
Yeah, so kind of every few months I do, at the moment they're free masterclasses. What I was finding basically was that people were coming to me, like I say, and saying, I know I need photos, but I don't want to do it. Yeah. And I want to get people over that hurdle. And I myself am proof of this working. So 5 years ago, if you go back and look through my old accounts, you won't find my face on there. You won't find me on video. Maybe my profile picture was a picture of me, but I think probably it was my logo, which is something I always tell people not to do. I really hid away. And over the last few years, I've been showing up more and more on video, on photos. And it's funny, like, we met at networking. I'm at networking a lot. I go to meetings and people are like, oh, you look really familiar. Where do I know you from? And then we work out they follow me on Instagram. And people feel they know me already. And it's opening that door. If you're a business, it's getting that warmth kind of is already growing through your social content. And they feel like they get to know you. So yeah, I'm proof that it works. Yeah. So, but I know how hard it is, because I would have 5 years ago, if you told me that I'd be here chatting to you, that I would be hosting masterclasses on how to show up, I would not have believed you. It wasn't very natural for me. But yeah, it's. I think I sort of got to a point where I was like, I'm going to push myself to go past that comfort zone. There's a quote that I love, which is, great things never come from comfort zones. And I think if you sit there all comfortable, then you're not moving forward. So just push yourself a little bit, as much as you can sort of manage to go to, just to kind of further yourself and further your business. It's definitely worth doing.
It's a great takeaway. And I probably slightly linked to that, I believe that in the not too distant future, not that I want to date the video, but in the not too distant future, you are also taking part in a panel discussion in Maidenhead.
I
are you not?
am, yes.
See, I have
yeah.
been stalking your Insta a bit.
Yes, yeah. So I, as well as going to a lot of networking, I also speak quite often at networking meetings, again on a similar topic. So giving people tips on kind of how to take good selfies themselves, and how to kind of get over those hang-ups and visibility. So yeah, that's coming up in June.
Nice.
Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a fab event.
Do you find that there's one thing that I'm always fascinated by? So the in-person stuff's great. So networking events and panel discussions, and I think there's bags of value in face-to-face conversation. The social side of things, apart from the comfort, I suppose the other thing that maybe sometimes people are a bit reluctant about is if I put myself out there, what if?
Yeah.
Right? So what if people don't like me? What if people troll me? What if people say stupid things?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I think it is scary putting yourself out there. I think the one thing to remember is that you are in control and you control how much of yourself you share. So you're, as much as I say, be yourself and show your personality, at the same time, you don't have to share everything about you. So for example, I have 2 sons and one's a teenager, one's coming into his teens, and they don't necessarily always want to be on my business feeds. When they were little, I used to post pictures of them all the time and they were fine with it. Now they're sort of learning that privacy. So I am very understanding if a family doesn't want their photos put out there, because everyone's sort of has the right to privacy. And yes, some people don't want to be online. As a business, I think it's important that you are, but you only need to share as much as you want to. So just talk about your business if you want to. Don't share your family life and your whole background and your whole story. You are in control. Once it's out there, it's out there. You can delete stuff. It's very unusual for small businesses to get trolls. If you become a huge influencer, I've worked with a couple of influencers, some that have kind of hundreds of thousands of followers, they are starting to get in the area where they are getting trolls.
You attract
but
other attention.
Most businesses, if you're getting to kind of a few thousand followers, you're feeling lucky and you're not going to be attracting trolls. You're just attracting people that want to hear about what you can offer them and how you can help them.
Yeah, true. And I suppose the thing that's always really important to remember is that if you do attract negativity, it's not a reflection on you. It's normally a reflection on the other people.
Absolutely.
It's the whole rise above it thing,
Yes.
which is sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah.
But perspective is really important on that as well.
Indeed, yeah.
So you mentioned kind of that concept there of working with a few people that are a bit more pseudo brands or celebrities, etc. You must have shot some interesting people. Anything happened recently that you've had some interesting shoots?
Yeah, so I had a surprise call a couple of months ago and I photographed David Emmanuel, who is, most people know him either through designing Princess Diana's wedding dress, is how I knew him, and Say Yes to the Dress is how lots of other people know him, hosting that, and I think he was on I'm a Celebrity as well. That call came out of nowhere. They found my website online, saw my experience, needed photos within 24 hours.
Right.
So they literally, I think it was a Wednesday afternoon, called me and said, can you do this? Needed a studio set up, which I have. But here's the thing, we need the photos back. We'll be sending him to you tomorrow morning and we need the photos back the same afternoon.
Quite a tight turnaround.
Boring story behind why it all needed to happen, but luckily I had no other bookings that day, so I was like, yep, I can do that. It's nice to know that I'm a trusted pair of hands. So when you need something at short notice and kind of someone who's happy to handle a celebrity, I say handle a celebrity. He didn't really need handling. He's the loveliest man.
He's a very lovely man.
So he was really lovely. So quite exciting that kind of my photos are now out on those websites, and
that's great. But what a great call to get.
It was very exciting.
And I know he's a lovely chap because Jules and I actually met him once.
I think Jules mentioned
coincidentally.
He's local to us, which again is why they sort of found me. They were looking for somewhere that was nearby.
Well, I suspect that you probably had a different conversation with him to the one that Jules did. I think they ended up talking about how badly fitting bras were. So entirely different
You should take him to
dialogue.
task on it. Tell him he needs to fix
I think there was a request somewhere along the line. I'm not sure, but probably the less said about that, the better. But yeah, lovely, really lovely guys. So that must have been a fun shoot to do.
It was really fun, and it's always nice to kind of do bigger jobs like that. So, but I love working with kind of bigger names and also kind of small, businesses and families. It's everyone's special in my eyes. So
with whether it's a pseudo famous person, an actual famous person, an influencer, a family, a business, I suppose the thing that collectively makes them all similar and is parallel is that they're all human beings.
Yeah.
So ultimately everybody just wants to get a nice end product.
Absolutely.
And that's perhaps where some of the ideas or levels of comfort that you were talking about earlier come into play, right?
Absolutely. And also for me, I think the one thing I truly want to capture is someone's personality. So how I capture you would be different how I capture another business through someone if they're getting me for a family photo. And the best feedback I can get from someone, particularly I get this with children, is when a parent comes back to me and says, you've absolutely captured the essence of who they are.
That's nice.
Because I think it's very easy to think that photos will all just be the same and we're just sort of posing people in the same sort of formal poses. That's not what I'm about at all. I want to kind of see who this person is and really capture that essence and show that. So
without trapping them in the photo forever,
like
some kind of dark age witchcraft. So with the people that you've shot and the places that you've shot as well, you must have, I would imagine, at some points had things getting picked up and being reshared and that type of thing, almost verging on going viral. Have you ever had that happen to anyone?
So I'm really proud to have been printed in national magazines. So I've had photos in British Vogue, in Hello, in national newspapers. And I also did a project about 7 or 8 years ago to gain a level of qualification within the photography industry, where I photographed children as their favourite emojis. So it was all shot on yellow backgrounds, really, really fun project, kids coming in making all sorts of different faces. And I passed the qualification, thankfully.
Yeah, great, congratulations.
And put the photos up on my blog. And then I shared, there's a blogging site called Bald Panda, which I think some people will have seen. It kind of pops up with kind of, interesting stories. And the photos got shared on there. And then from that, it went crazy. I had German newspapers and magazines calling me up wanting to share the pictures and interview me about it. They were literally published all over the world.
Wow.
So Brazil, China. Every day I was getting alerts. So I have a site that monitors where my images are kind of being shared. And every morning I was coming to alerts going, your picture's been sort of shared in Mongolia.
Azerbaijan.
All over the place. So which was quite strange to kind of, but nice that people kind of are interacting with what I've created and taking something from it, because it was a really good fun project.
It sounds, I suppose there's a combination of things, but sometimes when a project really catches people's imagination, I guess that's part of that, where it's because it's photographic, because it's image based, it's not, and the fact that you're photographing favourite emojis, right? It's not linguistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like people need to be able to read or understand or the different language barriers don't make any difference. It's just about feeling.
Yeah, and that was one of the kind of reasons behind the project, is that it is kind of like a universal language that everyone speaks, but actually if there's a barrier, it's actually age. So you, at the time, if I'd gone to, kind of my parents, they probably weren't using a huge amount of emojis. Obviously now it's wider spread. But actually for children, it's kind of like a language that they can send whole text form of emojis to each other and know exactly kind of what they're saying. But it transcends language barriers, which I think is why it kind of went so far and wide. I also wanted to really get the element of fun across. So there is a sort of movement within photography for sort of fine art, and there is definitely a place for that, for classic pictures that are going to last for hundreds of years. and that aren't kind of dating. So, you know, that picture could have been taken as a painting kind of 200 years ago, but the children often look quite somber, they're quite dark. And there was definitely a trend within the photography industry at that time, and the people that were getting qualifications and awards at that time were definitely going towards that style, and that's just not me at all.
Yeah.
I'm very much about energy and vibrancy and fun, so I really wanted to break the mold and do something different. So, and it was really nice to kind of get the qualification awarded on the back of that, and then get the interest in it.
Nice.
So.
And the flip side of that, though, because you mentioned there that, you know, there's in certain areas, aspects, there is sometimes a bit more of a serious element to photography. But even when photography is fun, sometimes it's serious as well. Sometimes, Abi, you're not allowed to smile, are you? Tell us about this.
Yeah. So I once got booked for a really interesting job. So it was a billionaire was hosting a Halloween party, and the whole of his house, so this mansion, was completely decorated as a 1950s spooky hospital.
Right.
And my role within the event was to be there as a X-ray nurse. So they set me up in a room of the house. So I had my studio equipment. They had whole event stylists come in for this. So the room that I had X-ray tables and kind of hospital screens. It was completely dressed. And then my studio lights in the side just kind of to light the whole scene. And it's the only time I've ever gone to a shoot. So quite often when I'm working with people, they will be hiring a makeup artist to have their makeup and hair done so they look their best for the shoot.
Yeah.
I've never had hair and makeup done to be on the other side of the camera, apart from on that one occasion. So I got there in my usual attire for events, which is just a black pair of trousers and top, and was asked if I could change into a kind of 1950s classic nurse's outfit.
Right, yeah.
Was sent into hair and makeup where my face was kind of white, made to be pale and covered in scratches and like I'd been through some kind of attack.
Yeah.
And then, I was told to be role-playing the role of the X-ray nurse, and that I was to be very serious and very directive and, kind of order people to come in, have their X-ray taken, which they then got the photo at the end of the day to take home. And I got told off by one of the hosts for smiling too much because they wanted a moody nurse, and unfortunately I'm quite a friendly, fun person.
It's not really in your nature, is it?
Not. So, got told off for smiling.
So, sometimes you need to be somber on both sides of the camera.
Absolutely.
As it turns out, but on a very rare occasion, thankfully.
Yeah.
Not a common theme.
It doesn't come natural to me to be the grumpy one.
So, let's take that a step further. Let's pretend that you're the billionaire and it was your birthday and you can have your fantasy dinner party. Because I love this question. Who are you inviting? So
I had to think about this, and I decided my 3 guests would be, I'm an absolute bookworm. You'll find me end of every day. My nose is in a book. I absolutely love to read. And so my favourite author is an author called Neil Gaiman, who writes kind of fantasy stuff. And I would love to have him at a dinner party. He's got the most amazing voice, so I listen to his audiobooks as well. And I think he would just have so many tales to tell. So he would be my first guest. My second guest, I am very much a feminist. Photography historically has been quite a male-dominated world. When I first sort of trained in darkroom and film, it was quite unusual for women to be setting out and setting up their own photography businesses. It then took me kind of another 10 years after that to actually set my business up. But as a feminist, I think I would like to meet Emmeline Pankhurst and hear about how they kind of blazed the trail and kind of against all odds, what they did as suffragettes. And my third guest would be, I had to pick, I'm a real foodie. I absolutely love food. So I knew it would be a chef. I was trying to pick which one. I decided I would probably go for Tom Kerridge. I've been lucky to eat at a couple of his restaurants and the food is amazing. And so hopefully he wouldn't mind coming and cooking, but also being a guest.
Oh, I see. So you want to double up?
Yeah, if he doesn't mind, he could cook for us. But I'd also love to hear his stories of food and all the tales that he has to tell.
That's a great table. Really diverse.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they'd all get on.
Well, I think it'd be fascinating.
I'd love to hear from all of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about kind of different life experiences and different walks of life and different periods as well, so it'd be a really interesting evening, shall we say? Okay, well, I'm going to ask you one final question, if that's all right. And I ask this because I think it's interesting to understand what makes people tick. So, if you had a superpower for a day, what would you choose?
I think it's really hard to decide between two. I know which two, but
Okay.
it's hard to pick one. I would love to fly.
Yeah.
Just the feeling of soaring above, and the ability to kind of fly around would be amazing. But I'm also really nosy. It's partly why I do photography, because I get to see inside people's lives and meet lots of different people. And I would quite like invisibility so that I could go into sort of interesting places and eavesdrop on things.
Okay.
So it's hard to pick one.
So ideally what you'd prefer is kind of a bit of both.
Yeah.
And then you can fly around whilst being invisible.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice. Well, look, I can heartily understand why. I'm equally nosy. That's probably why I like having these types of conversations. And if I can avoid having anybody else being in charge of the aeroplanes that I'm on, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a control freak, but I feel more comfortable when I'm in charge. But look, thanks very much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure having a chat, and look forward to seeing you at a networking event soon.
I'm sure we will come across each other very soon.
Nice. Thanks, Abi.
Thanks.